Hello and welcome. Thank you. That's very nice for the love and the heart. Welcome. Welcome to Bana in TV and YouTube, and welcome to my TikTok. Beautiful people, TikTok. And good evening, and I hope you're all doing well. I am back again tonight. I'll wait a minute for a few to join us, and we'll do the opening. How are we doing? How's the weather? I'm roasted. I am so roasted. The air is on. Everything's on. The fan is on around the house. It's about 110 degrees today in Las Vegas, and that's not super cool. So what I do is that this hair right here, it helped increase like 5 more degrees hotter. So let me put it away. Yeah. Not too cool. Anyway, so it's been so hot. Didn't feel like cooking. Didn't feel like doing anything close to the oven or stove or grill. So I'm here just to check in with all of you. And there's something that I like to share with you. It's been in my family for a long, long time. Let me make myself look presentable. I know I'm supposed to be wearing white so that way it does not absorb heat. So as many of you know and heard a few things, I mean, how do I start? You probably have heard a few things on TikTok or YouTube or Facebook or Instagrams about the Ghost Mountains. Who have heard of Ghost Mountain? Give me a shout out. Well, a Ghost Mountain story is it's not an extended story that involved in my family also. Who have heard of the Ghost Mountain story or the second genocide? Raise your hand. I do. Though it was a long, long time ago, I will share with you what I remembered, and I will share some of the testimonials of the survivor victim. Okay. So as many of you who have followed me on regular basis learn that I am a refugee from Cambodia. I am the genocide ethnic cleansing survivor that orchestrated by the Khmer Rouge and the head of the regiment is a well-known scholar, very brilliant scholar named Pol Pot. So Pol Pot, he was educated in a few countries, and he went home and he decided, hey, you know what? I'm tired of the government system. I'm tired of civilizations. I'm tired of people looking down and mocking people with dark complexion. Let's change the civilization. So that was the start of the Khmer Rouge regiment. So in mid, I believe it was in July. Don't quote me if I'm wrong. Okay, of 1975, a whole bunch of Khmer Rouge and his cadet on foot and on a few truckloads of their armaments march down to Phnom Penh and say, hey, wait, hey, people, hear me, hear us. You guys need to leave the city right now because the propaganda was that at a time where Americans were bombing along the Ho Chi Minh Trail and having very withdraw the troops from helping South Vietnam fighting their brother in North Vietnam. So with that, trauma, Pol Pot had gained victories and got everybody vacated. Phnom Penh was the main city in Cambodia, the capital city in Cambodia. I don't know what the population were at the time. So everybody was saying that. The regiment was saying that they got to vacate. It just like the order, the order from up high. Everybody got to pack a little bit and come along, marching down. We'll let you know where to stop. So that was the beginning of the Khmer Rouge era take over control of Cambodia by these arms and by after they gained whole control of the whole Cambodian, whether it's in the city, in the village, in the rural or suburban area, they had control over. They're driven everybody out into the into the farm, in the farm agricultures and farm and agricultures and rural area. Then people were wondering what's going on. When were they gonna be returning home? And that was just beginning of this awful, awful tragedy that really killed over 2 millions of innocent Cambodian. Okay, my family and I were one of the lucky family that survived the genocide, but not many were lucky to survive and be alive to sit and hear this story today. I believe it's about 50 to 80 family members on both sides of my family were killed by persecution style. They came to the village and bound everybody up and tied everybody up and marched them down to the killing holes, and that was that. Down from a little cousin who was just born and to the head of the households and so on and so forth. So my family, including mom and dad, and at the time was five children, made cross the border to Thailand, the original country where my father was from. So where am I going with this story? Okay, so this story tied to the second killing fields. Okay, so the first killing field was committed by the Khmer Rouge, orchestrating the whole stripping of the whole civilization, annihilated the whole civilization, strip and kill all the dignitarians, all the educated, the sign of intelligence, the signs of intellectuals. They defrock the monk robe, they make them work, they kill all the teachers, the lawyers, and all the dignitarians, and they dig deep into the family root too. If your family came from like a dignitarian family, they will kill all of it, all of them. So that include my family because my family was migrated from Thailand. So when they did the ethnic cleansing, our village was, um, my family village was known as Thai village. So when Khmer Rouge taken over, um, they commanded their men to get rid of all the Thai immigrants in that village. Many other villages and many other city throughout Cambodia was affected. But my family was lucky, and we made it through. Um, just a few months before all the Holocaust was taking place. Where am I going with this story? Okay, first of all, it's this is going to be difficult for me because I never want to talk about it because it hit home. Though I was only teenagers and preteen, at the time what's happened, but you know, I recollected a lot of experience and memory from it. So I never really casually talk about the experience because I, you know, sometimes I cover the pains and the trauma by just laugh about it, you know, make joke about it. Hey, I survived it, you know. Lobong. Um, hello, Cece and King Cater. Welcome. So tonight's story is gonna be it's gonna be nasty. It's gonna be one of those difficult story to tell. So I so we make it through in a refugee camp for many years from 1975 up to 1980 where we departed to America. So for that many years I have seen a lot of ugliness in the camp, you know, seen people comes and goes and the refugee camp that my family were designated to is in Sakeo province. It's, uh, it's is a province that adjacent to the Cambodian border and the refugee camp house over I don't know the number of people but it was congested. So there was no shelter for, but Thai government allowed us to go out and cut the wood from the collect the wood from the forest and make our own stilt. So there was no shelter, so people were allowed to make their own stilts and little bamboo huts. And so my dad built a cute little hut on a stilt in the in the cluster six. So they divided um, the unit into clusters. So there were rows about what a few hundred family lived in each cluster. So my dad was the head of cluster. So as the head of cluster, you're supposed to get extra food. So yeah, the food wasn't great, and you know Thailand is super humid, super warm. By the time food got into the camp, it was it was already half spoiled, especially the fish and the chicken. I remember eating spoiled fish and chicken, a little bit of rice, but that's what sustained our life. And we're not allowed to work. We're not allowed to seek any kind of employment. So all we do is in line collecting some rice and old chicken. Oh, so the part that I'm going to share with you is the part where first a lot of Cambodian had crossed the border since 1975. It was like large influx of, of Cambodian Thai descent who left early and made it to Thailand and but they summoned to live in the camp, refugee camp. So the same for my family too. So we all moved into refugee camp, and from then we just waited for being sponsored to another country. If you have family member who live in the civilization or in the third world, they call it third world. It's not like a third world poor country. We're talking about third worlds who are who are in the in the in the position to sponsor the refugees from Cambodia, refugee from Laos, and refugee from Vietnam. So Thailand was bombarded with three major Asian countries: the Indo-Chinese nation, which are the Cambodian, the Vietnamese, and the Laotian. So they were bombarded with the three nations that influx into the land. You know, they can push them back. They cannot driven them back. They they do everything in their power. So, but then all this time, the United Nations and world relief and humanitarian effort do work closely with the government. Say, hey, you know, we give you this much. I have not done research how much the government um, the World Relief and United Nations help with the asylum at the time in Thailand. So I know that it's a lot. So I understand there was a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility for Thailand to receive such a large influx of refugees from the three nations. So there's every day who refugees who cross Mekong River, and the boat people were known as the Vietnamese refugees, and then the Pol Pot or the Khmer Rouge are known as the Cambodian refugees. So the Cambodian border and Thai border was just like easy access, cross the river, and will be on the other side of of safety. And for the Leo people, it's a little bit different, because a little bit challenged, because they're divided by Mekong River. Okay, Mekong River it's not a small canal. It's a lengthy, it's deep, especially during the monsoon season, when the water rise up to the riverbank. And Mekong River is a huge river. Is not something that we're gonna go swimming and have fun with it. So people drown trying to cross the Mekong River just to get to Thai border. And then the Vietnamese people cannot come across the Lao border, because Lao was having issue fighting, killing, and then they cannot come through Cambodia, because Cambodia was also conflicted themselves with Khmer Rouge, and Khmer Rouge killing them also. So the only way to get out of Vietnam is through boat. So people come through fishing boats and through rental boat, and it's so many horrible stories, and so many stories written about the boat people. Also, a few stories are written about the killing fields, and have seen a movie called The Killing Fields. It was debuted years ago. It's called The Killing Fields. It just basically show how it was during the Khmer Rouge. So let me take you back to the story about the Ghost Mountains. Okay, so Ghost Mountain, just the story um, that was told by one of a gentleman who survived the Ghost Mountain. So okay, let me go back first before we understand uh, why Ghost Mountain it's just a scary place to hear. Okay. So in that one bamboo stilts, it was just a small living quarter. So they were my sister born already in 1975, so she born right in between the refuge. So as a baby, and now there's 6 children and two parents, 8, and we had this small bamboo still. There's no wall, there's no privacy. So at night I'd be hearing my mom and my dad be whispering. We were talking. Sometimes I can hear them, sometimes I can't. At the time, I wasn't worried about anything. I just worried about where's the next meal come. I know that I have to stay in line with a bowl for some pounds of rice and to feed the family. However, I'm still not enough. So I hear my mom was saying that, they were talking about, how the Thai government start sending the refugee back home. And we've been in refugee camp for a long time. I mean, we were probably one of the family who got stuck in the camp for a long time, from 1975 and 1980 until like in January of 1980, when we finally got sponsored and left the camp. But because we were there for so long, we were on the list of being returned back to Cambodia. So I thought return back to Cambodia would be something like it would be a place to go back to start a new life, we'll be home, be land waiting, and then everything will be fine. There's no more killing, there's no more threatening, there's no more Khmer Rouge, so I thought about, well, maybe it's a good thing to go back home. My parents used to say that, yeah, maybe it's a good thing to go back home. We got to go back to our farm, to go back to our land, to go back to our home, and I heard them talk about that. And then, but at the same time, though our camp, the refugee in our camp had not been take back home, uh, but we've been getting a lot of newcomer. Some of this time where the Thai government will bring the new refugee who just made it to the border, the one that just survived the Khmer Rouge. That I remember with this young lady, she came like in thousand with other refugee who came later, like in 1979, 1980, after Khmer Rouge was overturned, and a lot of survivors who lived through the Holocaust made it through the border, but they weren't the first influx. There was like the very latest influx where people went through the whole full. There were 3 years and something months of starvation, and at the time. So if you have seen the movie The Walking Dead, okay. So the horror of looking at somebody who have been starved for so many years, it's like it's like that. Uh, the hair, just few strand of hair on the head, and the stomach was edema. It was like swollen because they didn't have enough nutrients, or they didn't have sodium. I mean, not to mention people who survived through starvation for 3 years, 2 years. I mean, if I was to starve for 1 week, I'll be on the dead road too. And then to see this young lady, she's about my age, and she was scrawny, but she was bulgy, and they brought them over and to a refugee camp, and they were being treated. There was a little medical center that they built just to for the refugee to receive the health care um, at the same time. So I make friend with her. I remember when she first came, was horrible looking. She was hollow, and her eye was sunken, and with just skin and bone, and it was like a few strands of her hair. It was. I mean, she was like the rest of the latest arrival. When I came, I wasn't looking like that. I was scrawny because I always been skinny. But when living in the camp, it's not enough food. It made me even more skinnier. So I stunt grow. So so I make friend with her. We share food. A little food that we have, we shared. And after about 3 months of a little bit of food in her, and her hair started to grow. She started to have some flesh growing on her. She gotten fatter, and about a year later, she was looking good, and she turned into a nice teenager. She uh, and then my family departed, so we left, and we never got connected again. So along with all the friends that I made in the camp, we, we got disconnected. There was no way for us to stay in touch. When we left, we didn't have address, nor be able to communicate because the camp, because the Thai government trying to um, send out all the refugee camp either through sponsorship and through sponsorship to America or to other nations that involved with the world organizations. My family ended up here in America, first in France, and we denied access to France because my dad had a communicable disease. After a year, my dad got treated, and finally were asylum in America. We came, and but then the whole story about refugee being sent back to Cambodia circulate in the camp, where people start to questioning, hey, um, the new influx arriving, and that mean that Cambodia. So we don't have communication. We don't have news about what's going on in Cambodia. After we left, there was no news about Cambodia. We don't have access to news outlet while living in the camp. So we don't really know what's going on in Cambodia, whether it's safe to get sent back to Cambodia or anything like that. So now my parents were fierce about it. I heard them talk about it. If we get selected to get sent back to Cambodia, then we just go straight to our home. And that was the goal. We weren't sure because we weren't sure whether because we were there in the camp too long and we weren't getting sponsorship. And Thai government threatened that if we don't get sponsorship, then no one wanted to sponsor us, then we have to get sent home. Yeah, it was horrible. Really, that image never eradicate from my memory. From seeing the last wave, not the last wave, um, some of the newcomers, some of the largest newcomer after Khmer Rouge was taken over, and everybody free to leave. Okay, but then the issue with them able to leave and cross the border created more issue for Thai government because they don't have they don't have camp to house that many refugees. They already had places where designated for the refugee camp is all full. So then they create this camp called Side 2 camp. Side 2 camp, I think it designated along the border, both border. And if they get transferred from Side 2 camp to Khao Edang camp or one of those refugee camp for the Cambodian, then at the time they can get help. They be in a safer place where the the world the world rescue mission would be under the care. They would they would be getting a lot of volunteer throughout the world. And I remember telling the story about Robert. I don't remember his first name, but he was called, well, he's Frenchman, so we call him Robert or Robert. So Robert, he was a bushy man, very kind, very friendly, always smiling. When he come to the cluster with a few volunteer, um, they mix healthy milk and cereals and distribute to the family, one family at a time. So I remember we we came out on the street in front of our still house with a cup with glass to get a milk, the powder milk, mixed powder milk. So that was one of the healthy nutritional program, I think, at the time. So I didn't understand much, but we at the time we see all the Caucasian, we call them French, um, refer to people from the Western country. So everybody a friend, whether from America, from um, from from France or from German, we all call them French because the Cambodian known French by the light complexion because we were colonized by French for so long. Everybody looked French to us. So there are so many groups of volunteer who comes and serve in the camp in different capacity, and some in helping, um, mostly into providing nutritional um, food, such as providing fresh milk and for the infants and for the family. Besides that, they do also in the healthcare. There's a small station where the doctors are on duty during the daytime. I believe that during nighttime, all the world relief worker have to leave the camps, and they adjourn in the morning. I think that's how I see it, because I see in the morning they will be coming in a truckload of humanitarian worker, and then at night they would jump on the jeep and they drove off the camp. So that was um, my memories of it. So my parent was worried because we were there for 5 years or 5 years in the camp, so we were worried about being sent back. But then in January 1980, finally our name was being posted on the uh, departure board for third world, and my family happened to be one of those group of people to leave the camp in January. We left the physical refugee camp into a transition camp inside Bangkok. There is a transition camp where they bring people who are ready for departure there to get a health clearance, where they have to get X-ray. I don't know why they didn't do that in the refugee camp. So they waited until we get to the transition camp and to do all the X-ray and all the communicable disease clearance. And then my dad got stuck with tuberculosis positive, because we live in such a congested refugee camp. Everybody infected. So we have to get clearance. We have to get clearance by taking the meds and the lung and the chest X-ray, and that treatment took us 8 months, because my dad's he was only the infected person that needed treatment. The rest of us were just exposed to TB, so we get treatment also. But my dad was the carrier, so because we were exposed to someone who had TB, so then we have to get treated and get clearance. So that took my dad 8 months to get clearance from his TB, and was able to come to America. So I heard about people get sent back to Cambodia. I didn't know the horrible story attached to it. Okay, so because I'm being young, I'm only worried about where's the next meal coming. So I never worried about who getting sent back or who being killed or anything like that. It never occurred to me, and I didn't take interest in any story, but I heard about it until when I came to America. After I graduated from high school and get some college education, I started working as a community liaison. So I got to, after 1984, I freshly graduated from high school. I was 21 and a half, and then I took some courses in college and to perfect my English, to advance my English, and also I wanted to work on my college degree also. And at the time, I landed a job with the community organizations, and then because the language that I proficient in, so I got a job and I got to work with a lot of Cambodian family. I'm a refugee myself at the time, so it's just like another refugee helping, just a refugee helping refugees. So I got to work with the people from the country of Laos. I got to work with some of the Vietnamese also, though we don't speak the language, but I think the connection was real, and people will come to you even we don't speak the language, and we're trying to speak with the minimal English that we have. So while working with the community organizations, I got to help many family, um, and got to get them to connect with mental health services, to deal with post-traumatic disorder. They help them heal in the process of coming to America and the diaspora experience. And same thing for me. I don't know. I never been to mental health, but I work closely with mental professional as an interpreter. I do work closely on in providing the language. So I work with a lot of men, women who are amputees, who lost their limbs, and I hear telling me that the reason that the doctor would ask them what happened to your leg, so oh yeah, I was surviving from from they call it Phnom Vihear. So Phnom Vihear is known as the Ghost Mountain, where this is where the real truth about the tragic uh, incident killing is called the second killing field. That just because when I heard the rumors about Cambodian are being returned home, okay, I thought that they would send them back to Cambodia along the borders and just have have something to go back to. But I didn't know that in the midst of that rumors, there were real event where people are being forced into the 18 wheelers and enclosures, and then transport them back and driving through the jungles and into the mountains, steep mountains, and then force them to jump off the cliff, and and this is a true story, and there people talk about it. At the time, it didn't affect me as much because, I mean, I heard about it and I didn't understand the I didn't understand the whole dynamic of people who survived the second killing field. First, they survived the Khmer Rouge, starvation for about 3-4 years, make it to the borders and got sent back and forced to flee again and to jump off the cliffs, and by fate in that one was survived. So a few who survived, lost a limb because they jumped from the high steep, and they're talking about what 100 yard steep. It's almost like very, very steep. Through testimonies of people who survived, they said it was very steep, and Preah Vihear Mountain on the other side is pretty steep and jungle, and then people were forced to not return, not to climb back, just to. It's almost like they use these people as as a human shield because um, it's nothing planted but in the deep jungle, but landmine that was planted by the Khmer Rouge and prevent from others Cambodian to flee or to leave the country. So I think it gone deeper in the politics with Thai, where they use this Cambodian to like to force them back into their homeland through this jungle so they can clear the minefield for them, and a lot of that circulated. It's not make sense. So this survivor, it's a story of this gentleman that his son created um, a documentary, I think about 30 minutes long. It's called Ghost Mountain, the Second Killing Field, Cambodia. So this document it was created in 2020. So it's been about 6 years. So it's a film directed by James Tang uh, in in Virginia Lynch. So both of them are retelling the story of Bun Sang Tang, which is the father of James. So James grown up in America, and he he wanted to understand his dad's story, so he started digging deep, and his father took him back to the Ghost Mountains, the killing field of the Ghost Mountains. So he was there with his dad, and there was still trace of the darkness, you know, I still see clothes, still patches on on the grounds, and the pots, the pans, and still bones remains, and all the horrible scene was still horrible, though people believe that Ghost Mountain haunted, and Cambodian people who survived the genocide understand that they hear the cries from that area. So people, it's almost like a forbidden area for people to even visit, because they learn about the killing field there. So it's known as Ghost Mountain because they people hear the spirit calling and howling and still haunting. So so what happened with Bunseng is that he started telling a story, and his son and his friend documented, and they went back homes, and they went back to Cambodia, visit the site, which was it was ugly. So same thing. Bunseng was very emotional telling his story. He's probably about my age, in his 60s. You know, he survived. How he survived is that after truckloads of Cambodian refugees got dumped into along the cliffs, and some climbed down from the wind, from the vines, or some can climb the trees. Some were just like being dumped over on the top of each other, and there's a movie being made also, and there was some um, remake images that I that you can check online, and watch it. And the movie hasn't come out yet. It's gonna be a full length movie about story about Ghost Mountain. So I think they're still making it right now. But the Ghost Mountain, the second killing field, the documentary in 2022 is coming out already. It's on it show on public PBS, and because I think they have copyright, so I won't be able to share with you. I also see it posted on PBS, YouTube, and some other channels. So you're welcome to check it out and learn a little bit about Urban Sayings and his experience as the Ghost Mountain survivor. So what happened is that um, after Thai government was doing this, uh, deceiving and lying to Khmer people, say, hey, you know, we're gonna be moving you to Bangkok, and so that um, you can have a place to stay, a new refugee camp to stay, and then from then pending to come to another country, or or seeking asylum in another country. So people started believing, you know, that that was the case, and then but then later on, when people start hearing story about people that were the first groups of people that they put on the bus, and the truckload, and nowhere to be found, and there was no refugee camp, and the the humanitarian group didn't know about it until later on, when they discovered that the lies, and um, so they started questioning Thai government about where are those refugees. So they said about 20, 40, more than 20,000 Cambodian who got pushed over the cliff of Ghost Mountain. And not many survive, because it's just said that the body just topping each other, because they just keep falling on each other, and even with broken arm, broken leg, and or 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 injured, and they couldn't make it through. They couldn't escape. They couldn't go anywhere, because if they go back, and then they have to walk day through the minefields, and the first group already clear some of the minefields, and the second group go after, and follow the trail. But then they were saying that not just a minefield to explode, because Khmer Rouge plant a minefield just like one next to the other, like millions of minefield planted in the area, because the Khmer Rouge from prevented the Khmer from escaping. So now when the Thai government pushed them off and threatened to bomb them and kill them if they return, so the Khmer people that survived from that drop were trying to move forward through the minefield, but not many survived. For those who survived, had rebound, and take them weeks and weeks to reach the Thai border. When the American, when the world relief worker knew about the killings, they started to follow the trace and the trails of the trails, and many have tried to return, and because the American, because of the war relief worker were there with with the transportation to bring them back to safety. So bring them back to Thailand again, under the United Nations and the World Relief Protection. So a lot, those who survive, who injured, who be able to make it through, and when the rescuer went back and trying to help them to safety again, and that's how we be able to get some survivor to come back and live through to tell the story. Though those who did not make it back to Thailand, they did make it back to Cambodia, and they survived through it. We don't know how they survived through, but they survived through, and there's so many who would bear the testimony how they survived through. Just keep walking, just keep running to the destinations. So so the second killing field is the Ghost Mountain. Is real. The reason I said is real because I did talk to a few of those who were the survivor. He was a few of the gentlemen who the limb was missing, so I started asking what happened to your legs and your arms. They would tell you, oh yeah, this is what happened to us, and Thai government forced us into the trucks and drove us back to Cambodia and dump us off the cliff, the mountain cliff of the cliff of Preah Vihear mountain. And at the time, like I said, it didn't really affect me, because my job was to make sure that he's getting his prosthesis and his they need, or getting clutches they need. So there's a few that I learned about the survivor from the Ghost Mountain, but at the time it was not named Ghost Mountain. It was named Thai called it Preah Vihear, which they're fighting for. That was the war that they're fighting for, and then the Cambodian call it Phnom Penh here. So this side was the beautiful temple, and the other side was the dark side where all the spirit of haunting still, and thousands of life is lost there. In fact, I think one of my dad nephews was a survivor. I think he moved to live in Oregon as a mushroom harvester. I have not Sorry, the agony is on and the death is crazy. So, so then my families, some of my families are also survivor of the Ghost Mountain. He used to tell us about it. He didn't lost his limb. His and his wife made it through back to the camp and made it to America. And both of them now, they used to live in Stockton, California at the time, but now they not now they had relocated to Oregon many years ago, and they work as um, mushroom picker. Because in Oregon, they are known to have wild uh, pine mushrooms. So a lot of Cambodian out there working picking mushrooms and and his wife Sophie was out there picking mushroom every year, and they make good money. I think his wife worked as a cart dealer in Carson City because they're so close to the border. I haven't got in touch with them for so long. I think last time I heard from them was when my my dad passed and they came to the funeral, and a couple of years later when my nephews, Officer Jimmy In, was slaughtered, and they came to the funeral. But then again, it never dawned on me. I think I lost touch with them. I probably have to search the number and call them up because yeah, they used to share the story about the horrific scenes of the Ghost Mountain genocide. It was horrible. They said that um, the first group of people that they dropped, those who didn't survive, unalive, they was just like decomposed, and then the more coming topping of the decomposed body. And it's not just like a few body, it was just like pile of dead body, and the one that injured, the one that's hurting, the one that cannot even move. Um, so they were saying that they just live with the decomposed body. This gentleman who shared his experience, he was one of the survivor. He's in his 70 now. Um, the video was posted by one of the um, American. He's not a journalist. He just lived in in um, in Cambodia, and he became one of the Cambodian advocate. He advocated for Cambodia, and he was really understood the cultures. He loved the country. He loved the people. So he shared this video, I think, because it's online, and it's by Kevin Smith. So it was this gentleman. Let me share. So this was a scene of remaking the Ghost Mountain. So some of this images. So this gentleman here was just sharing his memories and his experience during the Ghost Mountain Genocide. So this some of these images was taken during the making of the Ghost Mountain movie. So there was so many of people who lived through it, and this gentleman here was just telling his story, how he was told that that they were going to relocate them to Bangkok, so they need to get on the truck that would prepare for departure, along with thousand other Cambodian refugees, and they didn't know that that would be one of their last trip, or might be one of their last day to be alive. So he went on and tell the story about how he witnesses how the Thai soldiers was cruel. They brought them in truckful, and climb up steep high, and some of them were being dropped along the roadside and command them not to return. If they do, they will they will be shot, and they will grenade um, exploded behind their back. So people just run into the wood, into the jungle, just to avoid being shot and killed. And for those group that they drove up high into the steep, and then unloaded them and forced them to jump over the cliff. So this gentleman was saying that he he survived by jump onto the tree. So he um, jumped into the trees, and he slide down from the trees, and along with other people were able to like have good grips of ability to jump onto the trees and um, and slide down to the trees, and that's how they survive. But some of those who are elderly, who are not well, and children, they just they just being plunged down to into the cliffs and cliff and topping on the dead body and decomposed body. He said that when the night come, at the time they were injured also, so they wouldn't be able to make progress of of leaving the area. So they were hoping that somebody was going to come after them, so they didn't try to leave the area, so they stayed together. So I remember he telling that there were four men sitting back to back, and then everywhere when they're trying to close their eye and take nap, and they couldn't lay down because there was no food, no water. Remember, when rain comes, they collect water from a decomposed body. They have to drink because they haven't eaten or drink for so many days. They starting to getting real sick, so they collect water from decomposed body. There was so many dead, and everywhere he turned, everywhere he looked would be decomposed body, either just fresh one or just got thrown down, or one is really decomposed. And he said the smell was horrible, and it was just like everywhere they looked, it was like they refer to as ghosts. The dead body, the Cambodian call it ghost. The dead body, they call it ghost. So it's that everywhere he turned, when he opened his eye, he see ghosts. To me, um, that he said, was it scary? He said it was scary. It was horrible, and there's nothing they can do. The men and women crying for help. Those who injured badly, they can't walk, they can't move, and as the four of them who stuck together, they group together and make journey toward the safety or into the jungle. They ordered to, because the Thai government the Thai soldier ordered them to departure into the jungle, and no one to return. And even in trying to return, they won't be able to climb the cliff, mm, climb back onto the cliff, or they have to go around the mountain. That would take. It's not a little mountain. It's not a molehill. It's a big mountain. So in order to get through on the other side of the mountain would take days or even weeks. Some said that would take them 3 months to find the journey back to safety to Thailand, where the rescue worker were waiting for them. So he made it back. He heard about no, they didn't hear about it, so they know that they cannot go back to Cambodia, so they retraced back along the mountain and found their way back, and and where they found the rescue worker was waiting to bring them to safety. Again, back to Thailand. There's no other way. There's no other place to return them to. So they returned them back to Thailand. This time they were under protection. So Thailand um, know that the World Relief Rescue know about the genocide. So they deny anything, any wrongdoing. They're still denying the wrongdoing. They said that was no happen, and that they were saying that a Cambodian making up story, and and that's why it's crucial to bring the survivor, the victim, to share the story. It's not a make up story. Who make up ugly story like that? Who does that? Now, if someone did horrible crimes, all they can do is just what they don't want to be responsible for. I mean, to house the refugee wasn't free. Okay, it was a billion of dollars going to the rescue effort. It's not like, oh, we do you a favor. It wasn't like that. The favor was that they lend the land, they rent the land for the refugees to for the refugee in the refugee camp. But other than that, nothing was free. It was not out of generosity. The world really paid a lot of money to feed and to shelter and provide the medicals and medical cares and all that. But but I did not forget though. I mean, that I was there for many years and my family was safe. Um, Unlike other that didn't make it, they survived the first killing field and they survived the second killing fields, and many didn't survive through the first killing field. Okay, I believe about 2 million that didn't survive the first second field. So they were saying at least 30, 40,000 that didn't survive through the second killing field. It's not just like a truckload full. There was like many refugees who came to seek safety, but they're but they're being denied. They're being forced to go back to a land they're not even ready to receive them. So the Ghost Mountain is real, and I did work with a few people who were the victim, and that coming from my mom. I work closely with the community, and I have also an uncle in law who was the survivor. Also, I have to to find where he is now because it's been years. About what 4 years since the last contact. I think I still have the number. I would have to. I think I may have them on Facebook. I reconnect with the son. Um, Sometimes when I look back, some of the things that I experienced with some of these victims, I could have, really paid close attention to them. But at the time, my job was just to be the community advocate. I I make friends with many, and I help many, and I never really make it a personal attachment because I already did attach to them. They attached to me too as a community advocate. Um, other P, uh, the channel is PBS. It's those public stations that they publish the Ghost Mountain. Well, I think I saw it on YouTube too, but I think they have copyright, so I didn't try to um, remix it or share with you, so you can check out the story on just just you said that copyright reserved, so I didn't understand. Maybe I have to ask for permission to share the story, but it's a public domain. Not public domain. Sorry, it is a copyright, so that's why I couldn't share. But you're welcome to check the Ghost Mountain story on. I think I saw it on YouTube and on PBS station, the public channel. I have to tell you though, it's very the story is very touchy, you know, and it can break the spirit. It did to me too, because at the time when I was working with people, my feeling was different because my job was to like connect them with the services, and I saw them on a regular basis, you know, and I never really make it my my personal issue. But now that I hear about how the story need to be told, you know, and because the story never been told until one man who was brave enough to share the story with his son, and his son took it to a new measure and shared with the world. So I have a bit of information, and I just like to share it too, you know, because I do work in a community who survived the second killing fields. And I think it's important that for people to know that, because Cambodian people went through a whole lot, you know. And people say, "Oh yeah, Cambodian people are nice and fine and friendly," because they are, because they survived through so much, you know. They had nothing to lose but being nice and kind. I am. I don't know. I'm kind until somebody trying to like to punch me like a bag. So I'm good until somebody, you know, trying to be funny, and then that ugly side of me come out. Yeah, defensive, defensive side. But other than that, I think people need to hear the true story about Ghost Mountain, that it really happened, and that Thai people, Thai government did push the Cambodian refugee back, and not in a diplomatic way. It was in a more, I'm not sure whether they were working with Khmer Rouge in return favor, you know, to bring back those people that Khmer Rouge wanted to kill them all for escaping, because Khmer Rouge would kill anybody who escaped. They never kill anybody who tried to escape. Um, so the the rumors spread that Thai government did make a deal with the Khmer Rouge to send those people back and kill them, or send them back or kill them. So I don't see other reason though, because uh, why these people want the refugees who survived the genocide for 4 or 5 years and will send them back to die again. Why? Where is the humanitarian effort? Where's the kindness? Where's the humanity? You know, where's the humanity? I mean, I can understand that you send some healthy men back to Cambodia so they can go till the land and plant the crops, you know. But then you send families with kids, with elderly, with people who barely survived Khmer Rouge and just got to the border and got sent back. And so that was, I didn't understand that, because I never really questioned anything but provide the services, and that was my job, and it never really affect me, you know. I love the family, I love the man. I think the man, two of the men still living in Stockton, California. They're older now. Um, one of the men, he lost his, can't remember, left or right limb, his arms and his legs, and one of the men, he just lost one foot, and um, that was the only two men that I know. But then I met another woman who survived, but she wasn't injured, but just small injuries, and she healed over. Um, but she didn't lost any limb because she said that when they plunged her into the deep, she caught the branch and then she climbed down the trees, and that's how she was able to survive it. So the Ghost Mountain is real, the story is real, and I'm sure that when people hearing the story, many of them will want to come forward and share their story also. So it's our job to share it and to understand the nature of human cruelty, how Cambodians suffer years of starvations and labor camps and made it to safety, only to find out that they're being forced back and left to die or being killed. So, so American and the rest of the World Relief Nation work together quick to figure out what they're gonna do with the people that they rescue. So they have to send them to many other refugee camp. I only know a few refugee camp that I'm in, Masai 2 and Camp Aranya and Sakao and I can't remember the other one. My uncle was sent to that camp. Anyway, and then there were Laotian camp and then the Vietnamese camp. So, like I said, at the time, Thai had a big burden of housing the refugees from 3 different countries. So we're talking about probably hundred thousands of refugees from each countries. I mean, all the countries, the boat people, the Vietnamese, and the Mekong people, the Laotians. So they all came at the same time. They from 1974 up until later 1980, I think, when even later after that, and the camp closed, all the refugee camp closed in 1980, 1996, I believe, when Thai said, "Oh, we're done. We're gonna send." In fact, they were sending a lot of Laos refugee back to Laos, and American have to intervene, and the World Relief have to get intervene and trying to bring them over to safety. Because Thailand, do face that burden, even they're being paid to provide shelters and food and medical care through funded grant and through grants and relief fund and to financial relief. Still, it's too much. I mean, I wouldn't blame Thailand at all, for facing a big burden, but I don't understand the portion where why send Cambodian back to die or force them to jump over the cliff or walk through the minefields and and be dead. I don't understand. If they were to send them with the good intentions, is to work with the diplomatic. Was no diplomatic this time, as a Khmer Rouge. So why send them back to the Khmer Rouge? Say, hey, here go your people. I'm taking them back, and allow Khmer Rouge to do whatever they want to do with their own people. No, it was not like that. You truck full of people and just drop them off the cliff, one truckload after another. And I believe it was like, um, I forgot the number. I can Google it for you. The, the number of people that were killed, I believe it was about 20,000. That's a lot for refugees to be sent back to die. It was it was hard for it was hard for me. Like I said, this when I heard the story first time, it was like it hit me too because and it brought me memories of the people that I work to serve in San Joaquin County are the direct victim of the genocide of the Ghost Mountain survivor. Like at the time, I didn't take notice as much because they were already in America. They're not suffer no more. They in safe place. So it didn't dawn on me, and I heard about a refugee being sent back to Cambodia, and I thought that was sent back to Cambodia in like a diplomatic way, where there'd be peace and happy, and everybody would be safe. And I didn't know that they want anything like that. It was just like a killing spree. It was like a second killing field, and for people who survived the first killing field, the second killing field, man, these people deserve to live 500 years, and that's how I feel. And if you survive almost 4 years of starvations and hard labor, make it through camp, got sent back to die, and got dropped off the cliff to die, and make it back, survived twice, and came to America. And I thought was, hey, you're lucky man. And that was my attitude at the time, was that they're lucky, make it through twice. That's a pretty darn lucky. And now it started hitting me because I didn't know that it affects so many, so many life loss. And when I watched the Ghost Mountain, it's only about 30-40 minute documentary long, but then also in depth. It was so touching. It was so emotional. I can feel like every word the gentleman described, the horrific experience. It took me a couple of days to get over, and I watched the document over and over again, where the gentleman took his son back to the area where they're being dropped. So there was still remain still there was they said that the energy was so strong. They can feel the spirit is there. It was so haunting. It was so haunted that Khmer people give the mountains that nickname, the Ghost Mountain, because so many life had lost there, and the spirit is so unsettled. And people who live in the area said that they heard the cries. I just feel fortunate that my family and I would escape unharmed, but not a lot of my family were lucky. I think I remember my mom told me about 50 to 80 of her family that was killed on the same day. The Khmer Rouge marched down to the village, buying everybody up, and that was that. My cousin, my aunt's daughter, they hadn't had a name yet. She was just a newborn when the Khmer Rouge marched into the village and bind them up. And the little girl, they just smash her head against the tree. And that's how they unalive her. Among all the family, will march down to the killing hole in the persecution style, and everybody shut down, and the body was tossed into the massive grave. And only one person survived. He was shot twice on the chest, Up until today, he still has a few pieces of shrapnel in his organs that cannot be removed. He's still alive. He was the person that I interviewed during my family when I was doing the family tree, family history. I interviewed him and trying to gather all the family name for my family trees, and I asked about. Oh, my mom told me about my uncle who was the only survivor from that killings and make it to Thailand, and he's here in America. He's in his 80 now. Um, I spoke to him often, so he'd be telling me all the horrific story about how the Khmer Rouge were coming to the village and buying everybody up and take them to the field and kill them. So I have two junior aunts on my dad's side of family, all gone. Some on my dad's side, on my mom's side, are gone. And a lot more on my dad's side are gone also. And those who survived are now living in San Diego. Only a few families that survived. The rest were gone. And that's just because when all that happened, my mom trying to convince my grandpa and his family to leave Cambodia, but no one believed her that the catastrophe was about to happen. So they remain in Cambodia. They didn't cross the border like my mom and I. So later when we found out that the Khmer Rouge marched down to the village and killed everybody, only one person alive to tell the story about it. And my aunt, my mom's sister, she's a beautiful young lady. She was a lot of men want to marry her and ask for her hands, and my grandfather wanted to find the best suitor for her. So and that day when the Khmer Rouge taken over the village, it was one of the gentlemen who wanted to marry my aunt, and my aunt refused his hands, and he's the one that seek revenge by tying my aunt up and cut off her legs and torture her until she died. And that just because she refused to marry him before the Khmer Rouge taken over. I mean, that story alone was like, it's painful to share, you know. But for those who lived through it and survived through it and had to live through the traumatic experience. As well in Stockton, I spent 35 years serving my community, connected with mental health, and with the agency that I work with. We um, we had a grant. It's called $1 million grant, $1 million man, or $1 million grant. I think it was a long-term grant that we allow us to work with the mental health facility to provide mental health services for the refugees in San Joaquin County. It's called we. That program was an annex program of San Joaquin County Mental Health under the umbrella. It's called Transculture Clinic. So they, with that index, we we were able to get the matching grant to work with Transculture Clinic to provide the resource and the referrals and get all those who are affected by the killing fields experience to get their mental health services. And Transcultural Clinic is still exists today. We launched that program for many years, for about 5-6 years until the grant ran out. But for that period of time, we were able to connect family with mental health services. You know, they receive medications and counseling and financial support and so far so forth. So it was a great program. We were lucky to be able to work closely with mental health to provide the mental health services to the Vietnamese, to the Laotians, and the Cambodian, and whoever also affected by war trauma. We give a all. So before I come on today, I wasn't sure I was able to hold my composure because it's such deep and it's so deep, you know. And the fact that my mom and I just talk about it the other day, and how we never deal with the loss. We didn't have time to feel the loss. We never had chance to bury the dead. We just came to America and move on, you know. I move on by not think back, and didn't forget, but didn't really think back, and by working in the community and provide the services that help me heal. And, but deep inside of me, I'm still torn. I'm still feeling lost, especially that little baby, you know, who's just born. And my uncle described how they smashed her head against the tree, you know, like, and that's a true story, though. You know, I mean, just recently, I was watching. Sorry, I'm telling you that I couldn't hold my composure because it took me days to. I have thought about coming and do this days ago, but I know that I won't be able to hold my emotion and my composure, and I'm sorry because the emotion is so high, so real, you know, because I feel the loss. I feel sad that the world didn't know about it until so many lives was lost, you know. Though I I connected with some of those family at the time, I wasn't being ignorant because I was in the services. So I work with them closely, provide the social service for them, you know, provide the shelter, provide the housing, provide the social need and financial support and all that. So my job end at certain time, you know, where I carry the caseload, and once all the service needs are met, and I move on to the next family. I sometimes I carry the caseload for a few years, to deal with their family, to deal with the kid, um, to deal with the kids, you know, because the kids started to act out, and because they're being bullied, they're being abused in school, like I did, and the boys started to form their own gangs, and you know, and besides dealing with the family, with the traumatic experience, then we have to deal with the first generation who came with the parents, um, plunge into gangs and and some other negative activities. And then I was working closely with the school to help with truancy, and with this agency allow for me to go into school and work with the school counselor to help to help reduce the truancy. So I work with so many, so and work with the gang unit, uh, gang suppression unit, and work with a few other agency um, to help the family dealing with the son and daughter who were into gangs. So that's how the Asian gang started it, which is feel like they need to belong. They needed to belong. They feel like that the rejection and the humiliations was real. It was for me too. You know, I didn't join the gang, but I joined the task force. I worked with so many gang members in Stockton. You know, I mean, through this agency, allowed me to work with the gang suppression unit, with the child protective service, with the adolescent unit, with the Stockton PDs, and work with the probations, and a lot of time be translating for the court for the schools, and so it was a lot of work done in the community, and I know by many, and many have showed great respect. With that, I and that's just personal experience for me working with the Cambodian community, with the Laotians, and a lot of monks who can speak the language also, and sometimes the Vietnamese also. My job and my responsibility never limited. You know, whoever have the needs of being connected and get referrals, resource referrals, and I make sure that their needs are met. And at that time, um, there was Lao community who served the Laos community. They call it Lao Community Center. So their job provide the advocate who speak the languages. And there's a Vietnamese volunteer foundations. They speak Vietnamese, so they work closely with the Vietnamese community in the Bay Area and in San Joaquin area. So at the time, we had good connect. We had good resources because after 1980, all the refugees from these three countries, they started to congregate. They started to come. They started to migrate from wherever they originated. They, typically, how the settlement program work is that the refugees will get sent to where they're being sponsored. If they're in New York or in Buffalo or they in Detroit, and they be transported to their designated sponsorship or the home. So sorry. So I was in Stockton, so we just got off San Francisco airport and being on bus to Stockton, and that was our journey. So after I heard about the great state of California, you know, the weather is all right, you know, it's not as close to monsoon Cambodian weather, and but then they learn about the social services are great, um, and and that the language are being provided. So so there's like a large influx of all refugees from Laos, from Cambodia, from Vietnam. They come together. They like to be in that community, because if they get sent to Texas and then there's no neighbors in Cambodian or in Vietnamese, and they feel isolated. They already left their home. They have no connection with their family. They came to America. They're being um, with a sponsored somewhere that they don't know. There's no other support. There's no other Vietnamese or Cambodian in the communities. So they search for each other. The Cambodian find out about Long Beach. Cambodian find out about Stockton, and then So everybody came to California for to be with the kind. And then Stockton was no stranger. You know, we started with huge. I don't know what the population now. It used to be like 150, maybe 15,000 Cambodian lived there, but now with the lack of job and so far so forth, so people started moving um, to better themselves. Maybe go back to the homestead and the the story I heard about people who influxed to California was that they didn't like the sponsored, they didn't like the food, they didn't like the fact is that they can't drive, they don't have a car, they have to they don't like the snow, they don't like the cold elements, and first of all they just have that there was no connection with their own community. They they long for home, they long for being around other Cambodians. So when they heard about California, you know, I mean, Long Beach was like the second largest of Cambodian community. They even have their own street name. They have their own Cambodian town. I mean, it take them after 40 years, so they they make it through the system. It's just like Chinese people have been here what through 300 years ago. They have Chinatown everywhere, a Japanese town everywhere, you know, Filipino plaza everywhere. But Cambodian who here only for 45 years, they finally make a place in America, you know, called Cambodian Town. I don't know, they're a huge population in Boston, Massachusetts too. You know, I mean, probably the largest Cambodian community live in Boston, Massachusetts. I haven't been there. I've been to East Coast, but I haven't set my foot in that region yet. So so the Ghost Mountain is very emotional, very touchy, very sad story being retold by a Cambodian gentleman who had lived through the second genocide of the Ghost Mountain, where they being forced back um, to die in Cambodia or to drop from the cliff of the Mount Preah Vihear, or now it's known as the Ghost Mountain, because they believe that so many lives lost there, and now the whole mountain is, is possessed by the spirit who of those who had lost their life there. They didn't settle, they didn't find peace, they didn't reincarnated. So I think the Cambodian people did ceremony um, to help cleanse the spirits and send the spirit off to another to the other side of the rainbow. But then people still fearful of that area where people won't want it to visit, people won't want to be remembered of, because it's such a horrific memory. And then there's another story that I accidentally seen on TikTok. So it is not it's not the Ghost Mountain, but it's a ghost garden. So this gentleman, he I think he rented a farmland and a few acre land. He was gonna till the earth and grow crops. But that land was like being left unkept for so long, and the plantain banana just grow wildly. And so the gentleman acquired the land. I think I heard he said that he rent the land, because people who don't have land of their own, they will lease the land or lease the land to farm. So and the gentleman moved into the land, and before he even start farming, he has a dream. And when a spirit come into his dream, and in the dream the spirit told him that they are cold and they are out in the field. So the spirit lead him, give him an invitation where the massive graveyards are, right? So the next morning, um, the man woke up from the dream and he was scared, so because Cambodian people are suspicious, they scared of ghosts. But this man by himself, he was frightened at first. He was so fearful. He was so scared because he thought he was being haunted. He wasn't sure if he's gonna kill the land and farm the land. So then one day he said, "Well, through his testimony, he said he have to investigate and see for himself why the spirits come into his dream and tell him that he need to go visit this site and rescue them." So when he went to walk on the farmland, it was nothing that he see was like um, that was abnormal. And then he tripped over the human remains. It was, I think it was the one of the skull. So then he said at that time he was so scared. He was out there by himself. Now because Cambodian did scared of ghosts, so they can't be alone in that kind of predicament. So he stumbled over a skull, and then he went over and to potted the banana mm, the banana bush, and then he discovered more more human skulls and more human remains. It just up. It wasn't even buried, and then um, and then he has a hole with him, and and he started digging. First it was his hand. He the more he he dug into it, the more remain he found. So he was on the top of the one of those massive Khmer Rouge victim. It's the same hole that I talk about in my village when they came over and bind other villagers and march them down to the killing hold and shot them and killed them and pushed them in, into the hole. It was a massive grave. So this man, he spent the next month by himself. First, he said he was so scared. After he discovered all this human remain, he was no longer frightened. He feel that he was protected by the spirit, by those by the spirit. He said that he would no longer fear of them. The more he found the remains, he dug up the remains. He lined them all up. I mean, we're talking about thousands of skulls that he dug up from his farm. And then he was saying that he discovered that the children uh, grave and then the adult grave. The reason he said that it was children because the skeleton was smaller and the bone structure was shorter. So he dug them up and then he lined them up. He said that there's time that he spent the night there, he sleep there, he no longer feel them. He can fall asleep after a long day of aggravating and removing the remain. I don't know why he removed them. He should like bury them. I don't know. But he was told that he's supposed to rescue them. I'm not sure what they mean by that. So the man was obsessed by it. I don't even know if Cambodian government or uh, even intervened for the video that was shown was that he was still digging up and bring up the remains. I mean, he lined them up just like the firewood, of those pieces of the remain, the arms, the legs, and the skulls. And he's testified that he was no longer feel them. He can hear them. You know, there's a voice telling him that, oh, there's more over here, there's more remain over here, there's more remain over there. So he dug up the whole ground in his farm. And some of those human remains not even underground, which is like all over the place. So he spent like the last 3 months doing that, collecting all those remains. He lined them all up. And So this person went to interview him and said, "Oh, brother, you're not scared?" I said, "No, first I was pacified, I was horrified, and after I started communicate with them, I started hearing them, I was talking to these spirits, and I'm no longer fears of them. They want me to bring the remain up. Maybe perhaps not to put them in stupa for collection, maybe just have a massive funeral service for them, or some type of, maybe just cremate their remain, send them off to the other side." So when I watching this gentleman sharing, how he said, "Oh yeah, this hole right here, there's hundreds of children were killed there, and this hole right here, he had like a few hundred of adult that he dug up, and then there were more hole. So he had a few acres of land. So I'm not sure is that the whole area was full of massive grave or not. And I don't know whether Cambodian government going to do anything, but they didn't show at the end how whether he going to get help um, with removing, because people are scared to even be in the area. First of all, Cambodian are suspicious people. They don't want to go near the graveyard or cemetery. They're scared of being haunted and be caught by the spirit. So with this man, he said that after so many dream, after so many cry, after he started hearing them talking to him, so he was like, people said, "Oh, that's crazy man. He ain't gonna go over there in that graveyard by himself, sleeping over the over the remain by himself at night." He was out there at 2 a.m. in the morning and dug up the human remains. And this man was like, he got goosebumps. How do you do that? "Well, brother, how do you do that? You're not scared?" "No, I wasn't scared. I had a lantern and I had a hoe, and I would just keep digging until all the remain I collect from each hole." And he still had a lot more. It was so sad to hear that. I started crying. I shared with my sweetheart, and I don't think he really get it, but it was like struck me hard. You know, um, Same thing for my family. If I were to go back to the village to discover the hole that they they killed my family, I probably have to ask my uncle where is that hole is, because I went back to Cambodia 3 times. I have not returned to the village yet because I haven't had the nerve or the brave to go back to my village. I I went to Cambodia. I visit the monument. I went to visit uh, one of these massive uh, water reservoir that responsible for the life of millions there. Um, my family was driving driving me to visit uh, this place. And it was beautiful. It was monastery and it was beautiful. And on the way back was rainy and it was hot and musty days. And I just can't wait to get home. So it was raining hard, so we couldn't visit a lot of places. So my cousin was driving on the two-way canal. So on this side was just rice field, and on the left side was a huge reservoir. So as soon as he stepped on driving on the canal, that reservoir, that area feeling overcome me, and all of a sudden I started feeling sad, and I started bawling. I thought I was a sister. My cousin said, "Why am I crying? I'm with you guy. I saw you guy. Been with you guy. Why am I crying here? Why I feel like something's going on here?" So my cousin, who was survivor, her and her sister was summoned to this area. It's called Phnom Penh, I think, in that area. There's a huge reservoir where they said that the Khmer Rouge forced them to duct the dirt, build the canal. At the same time, they create that water hole. There's a huge reservoir. So my cousin told me that they spent about 2 years there, removing the dirt, create the duct the dirt, carry it, and place it and turn it into canal. And the reservoir was supposed to collect the rainwater so that the Khmer Rouge can irrigate their rice field, the rice farm. So, but then when all that disrupted, um, so now it just remained of the ghost town. So my cousin was telling me that at the end of that building, the Khmer Rouge had killed so many because they no longer need the farm. They no longer need that many farm worker or helping hand or worker, a slave, because they don't want to feed them. They want to put them to work, but they don't want to feed them. They only give them like few spoonful of rice porridge for a day, and they'd be working 10, 12 hours um, digging canal and making water reservoir. So people die, like leaf falling in autumn because the working environment was so harsh, and then was not enough food. It was not in, it was a killing field. Okay, so people, the so after the canal was done, they started to starve the people by not giving even a spoonful of rice, porridge, or even allow them to go home. They're just being buried in that water reservoir. So in other words, that water reservoir is a massive graveyard. But my cousin survived. They got after after they were liberated, they went and unified with the parents, and they went back to the village where the where their home was destroyed. So they started rebuilding. So my great aunt and her children, her 8 children at the time, didn't make it to Thailand. So that's my mom's sister. So after the Khmer Rouge, she had a few more children. So she had 12 children altogether. So with that 12 children, um, the remainder farmland. So she divided the farmland to all of her kids. I'm sorry, 12 kids. It was 10 kids. There were 8 born before the Khmer Rouge, and so there were 2 more born after the Khmer Rouge. So there were 10 of them. Excuse me. So where I'm at, why I'm doing this, I don't know. Maybe I feel like I need to get it out. Not just that I'm sharing the story about the Ghost Mountain, the horrific experience of people who didn't survive the second killing fields, and those who um, survive with broken limbs and scars for life, not just from the first killing field rules, but with the killing field that was forced into by the Thai government. And those who survive will tell the stories, and most of those gentlemen are in their 80s and 60, like I am, and 70, 60, 80, and some of them even older. Some of them had already gone. So I know it was emotional for me, but at least I was able to share the story and experience working with some of those survivors. And now that if I ever see those people again, I will give them a better hug, because I think I never gotten to do that when I got the chance to serve them. So but I feel blessed that I was be able to serve them at the time. So, so that was my side of story about Ghost Mountain survivor, and it not just happened to many of the Cambodians, but it happened to my family also. And I was trying to touch bases with my uncle-in-law who was a survivor. They were he was on my dad's side of family. It's not too close kinship, but I call him uncles because my dad said that they related to him. It was extended family member, but in Cambodian, we that kinship is always closest. So that was my story today, just to share my experience working with the Ghost Mountain survivor. It wasn't easy, but I'm glad that I'm able to share it and to bring a better understanding, at least give the resource and the network, and for those who will be interested to find out a little bit more. I wanted to share, but I think there's copyright, so but I'll just give you guys. Um, I I will I will put the link on my channel so that way on YouTube channel so that way on um, on in TV so that way if you'd be interested in checking out the videos, and I know that the movie are being filmed right now in Cambodia uh, to to tell the story, and with among those cast crew cast are the real victim themselves. They were able to reach out to some of those survivor and the victim survivors and help them tell the story and go to a place where the actual event really happened, to see the mark, to see the grave site, to see the actual location. So Ghost Mountain is real. Cambodian people scared of it and they heard of it and they never really know the depth truth of how many people were killed there. There's no record keeping, but from the word of mouth, it's more than you can count. It's 30, 40,000 even, so that's a lot. But the Khmer Rouge killed at least 2 millions. That's a lot. Half of the nation in Cambodia. Through amidst all these tribulations, Cambodian resilience. They strive. They pick up, move forward, just like I pick up and move forward here in America. All my kinships and the rest of my countrymen and women pick up what is left and move on. And that's all we can do in a situation like this, is that all we can do is pick up and move on, and be the best we can be. And that's where I am today. Pick up and move on, and got chance to serve those who affected by it severely. I was too. I I seldom cry on camera, but today I did. I I lost my cool. That just because when we share a story that hit us, that affects us emotionally, it it brings out tears. So and, it was hard for me to tell the story and share the story, but I'm glad I did. Um, but for those who just joined me, about to close down, just sharing the story about how I got to work with some of the victim of the Ghost Mountains in Stockton, California, and also gotten to see the documentary done by Jamie Tang and his parents, and they make a trip back to the site where they're being dumped, left to die, and some of those survive, and he survived to tell the story, and they make into a short documentary. It was really nice to learn about it before, because before it was silence, and now people are no longer wanted silence about something that horrific that had happened over 1980. So what, 40 was 79, 1980. That's about what, 20, 45 years ago. In fact, it happened during the time that I was still in the refugee camp. In fact, my family probably going to be one of the family that get sent back, or be sent back to die or kill. But luckily, thank you, Easy. I think I should feel better and sleep better. But my thought and prayer to those who are affected by and lost their family members. Same for me too. I lost family members as well, but I feel fortunate that I'm here. I lost so many, but I'm here. But I feel fortunate and happy for the facts that I'm able to serve my community for so many years, be as a bridge, be as an ambassador, be as a community advocate, be that linkages that we're able to provide the resource and referrals, the social service and the mental health and the healthcare services to so many family members. And that memories stay with me and help me to remember the great work that I have done and all the certificate and all the other recognitions I received numerous of time. When I look back and remind me that how wonderful it was to be able to know the kind of work that I did. I never worried about be recognized or get recognitions, get applied or get a certificate for exemplary worker of the year, outstanding community advocate. I never thought about that. My goal was to make sure that my community are being served and get the services they need, and in mental health services, in the healthcare, in the financial support, in the housing, and the educations, and and so forth, so forth. That was the goal. My goal was to touch one family at a time, and that was ultimate goal. And I look back. I spent that many years in the community working, and I received so much love. You know, Still am. So many impressions, so many story I can share. And I can do a series of story I can share about the work that I do, and each family that I touch, and the story of their um, diaspora, the killing field, the killing field experience, the Ghost Mountain experience, and the transition experience. And these are some of the stories that sometimes we need to share, too, because people who can't speak the language, they can share the story. They're relying on someone who can be the advocate to share the story. Perhaps one day when I get a hold of one of those, and maybe we can put them on and share the story. And I already stay in touch with one of the lady who was the survivor from the Ho Chi Minh Trail bombing, and her family and her village was bombed. during the escapades of American bombing, the Ho Chi Minh trails, and she survived through the bombing. And she lived here in Las Vegas. Perhaps one day I can bring her on the shows and we'll talk about her experience. I think it would be good for her to share a story of how painful, how difficult it was to survive through the bombing and her home was being bombed and family member being hurt or being killed during the bombing. It would be nice to hear her story. I met her a few times and I got to make friends with her. I was in the process of helping her to pass her citizenship. She came through family sponsorship, and she in the past 10 years she didn't learn a word of English. So I feel so bad for the lady. She's only a couple years older than I am. I think she's 65. I'm 63. So after second attempt to pass her citizenship, she studied the questionnaires, the 100 questions. She did well in Cambodian. I got her. I recorded um, the Cambodian translations of the of the citizenship questionnaire. The question asked about the constitutions and the U.S. government and U.S. history, and there were 100 questions altogether. So they have to remember all of it because one of those questions will be asked. So the tricky part about the interviewer, the agent, is that so there's a few categories to become U.S. citizen. First, you have to be able to read, write, and understand English language, and be able to do oral dialogue. So this beautiful woman, she's been here a long time. She's home. Her daughter is sponsored her here, and because she had her mom living with her, so she had to be working, making extra money to take care of extra family members. So grandma will be home, or her mother will be home to take care of the kids. And she never learned English. She didn't speak more than 5 words of English. So when the interviewer, when the INS interviewer, immigration officer asked her questions in English, they said that, can you please raise your hand? Because I was there, because 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 she no, she hadn't been there 10 years yet. So a person, in order to qualify for interpreter, they have to be there 10 years. So she hadn't been there 10 years yet. In fact, she's supposed to be 10 years this coming year. She can try to reapply it again. So the agent asked the lady to please stand up. And I want to, like, shout out, please stand up. And she looked at me, and the agent looked at me. I cannot translate for her. They want to know if she can dialogue in English. And the lady didn't understand the word stand up. The lady didn't understand the word please raise your right hand to take an oath. Only 2 questions they asked. Please stand up and take an oath. She can't do neither. So they flunked her the first time. So they didn't give her enough time for the second interview. They sent another appointment like a month later when I told her that. So I used to be on the phone with her and teaching her English, but then the lady told me that, oh, I'm too old, I'm too dramatic, I'm too traumatic. I can't. My brain no longer good. I can't learn. So I said, you did, you did. So I tried to encourage her and help her understand that she can learn. She was able to remember most of her 100 questionnaires. So I said that you're pretty good. She recited for me in Cambodian. The questionnaire, were hoping that they're going to ask her in Cambodian of the questionnaires, but they didn't. They were tricky. They were asking her in English, which she didn't have the English skill. She'd been here 8 years. She didn't speak words of English. I said, where you been, Mom? You didn't learn English? No, I didn't learn English. My daughter speak to me in Cambodian. The grandkids speak to me in Cambodian. I didn't learn. So the time that yeah, for the second appointment, when they failed her, they said she's not ready. I thought that they're gonna give her 6 months to get ready. No, they sent her another appointment after like a month later, and at that time I'm trying to, because she lived like 10 miles from here, and I don't want to drive that far, so I'll be on the phone with her, coaching her, teach her basic English. Man, she failed miserably. So the second time again, she failed again. So after the second time, she said, "Oh, sister, I don't know if I ever gonna pass this. Maybe I'll wait for 2 more years when when I am resident here for 10 years." They said that she can have an interpreter. So we'll see. I have to touch bases with her where she's at. She was disappointed. She thought that well, that I was able to help her. No, I cannot help her because what happened to my to this to to a coworker of mine is that she in the time where she accompanied people to the immigration office for the citizenship interview. So the agent got smart. Yeah, to use interpreter either online or on site. When they use interpreter, they use tricky questions. So they no longer ask you they don't ask you the high frequency uh, um, question, like easy question: who's the first president of the United States? Who's the current president? Where's the capital of USA? What's the capital of the state? What's the color of the flag and all that? Those are like of high frequency questionnaires. So that the agent finally figured out that that some people be tricked and use interpreter as the mean to help them pass the test by interpreter will answer for them. So the agency don't speak the language, so they didn't know the interpreter was answer the question for them. So after a while, the agent learned that well, people are tricky. They just paid interpreter um, to help them pass by answer the question for them. So after many years of doing that, the agent finally figured out that that to use the interpreter, they have to ask questions that require answer in nouns. So in other words, they will ask you, what is the longest river in USA? The two longest would be Colorado and Mississippi, right? So so then they got caught lying because the question was asked um, the recipient, but then the recipient didn't utter the word, but then the interpreter uttered the word, Colorado River, Mississippi, or the 13 colonies, whatever it is, and then they got caught lying. So for a while, this young lady was banned from being interpreter for the immigration office because she got caught lying, commit fraud, and luckily she didn't get arrested. But she got banned from being interpreter. So I'm trying to explain to the woman that we take an oath as an interpreter. We interpret word by word. We don't answer for you. We don't trick question for you, answer the question for you. You have to do that on your own. You have to show the ability to be able to understand the basic English, oral, and written. And once you pass all that, then you're able to pass the questionnaires. Some ask 20, some ask 16, some ask as long as they feel that you are, and that the recipients or the clients or the green card holders that they proficient, then they pass. First they have to answer the questionnaire right also. So that lead back to my cousin who lived in North Carolina. She was the mail order bride. Her cousin went and married her and brought her here, and she ended up with another young man and started her own family because they were first cousins, so they can consummate. So they were able to brought her to bring her to America and got her green card. So she's still a green card holder after 10 years. Um, so same thing. I went online and applied for her citizenship because she's in North Carolina. I'm in I'm in Nevada, so I wasn't able to do much for her, save for she would have to utilize the online interpreter. But she's not allowed to have interpreter because she's in her 40s. She's not 65 over, no 55 and over, and been in US 10 years and longer. That was the criteria to qualify for the interpreter. So she was a bit confident. She speak English good, but her issue is that she able to dialogue verbally, but my cousin never been to school to learn how to read or write. So she was with this agent, asking her all those questionnaires. She passed it, and then they asked her to write a story. And my cousin said, "I don't know how to write in English." And they want her to write a story about her family, and my cousin couldn't write a word in English. No, she can write a couple words, but then she can't write a sentence. So then they failed her twice. So she called me after, "Auntie, why didn't you tell me that they will ask me to write in English? You know that I don't know how to write in English." I said, "Well, I only told you the qualification is that you're able to read and write in English and be able to talk in English and be able to pass the questionnaires. If you fulfill all those obligations, you will pass. If you don't pass a second time, then you reapply because they give you a chance. If you don't pass the first one and then the second one and the third one, you have to reapply and pay the fee over again if you qualify for fee waiver, and typically they lower the fee or no cost. So a lot of time when they do for clients who are low income or fixed income, I have to fill out extra form for the fee waiver, and it worked, and in California we conduct citizenship class and we translate it verbally and in audios and written to prepare them. So my mom passed, my dad passed, and a lot of community members passed. But my cousin been here 10 years, younger generation, speak good English, but couldn't write sentence in English. She failed twice already. Now she told me that. He said, she called me up a couple months ago. I said, "Auntie," she's the daughter of my cousin, so I'm her aunt. "Auntie, can you apply, can you do a passport for me?" I said, "Passport? You're a green card holder. You cannot have passport. You can apply re-entry permit." "Oh, that's what they call it, re-entry permit?" "Yes." I said, "Re-entry permits are for the people who hold green cards. Passport are for the American citizens or those who are naturalizations. You cannot have passport. You are entitled to." Yes, it's true. The community advocate saved many lives, and I recognize that. Thank you for acknowledging that, Cece. So I said, "Okay, can you um, apply for my travel document? What you call it?" Um, she said, I said, "Yeah, I can. I can do it for you. And where you gonna go?" I said, "Well, I want to go back to live in Cambodia." "Oh, you want re-entry permit to go back and live in Cambodia?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Why?" I said, "Because I'm tired living here. I cannot pass a citizenship test." So I said, "I already told you what you need to do. You need to learn how to write in English. You speak good English. You pass your cosmetology test. How do you do it? It was it written required. How do you pass your cosmetology test?" She's certified in nail technician. So how do you pass it? If you don't read in English, you don't write in English, how do you pass it? I said, "I don't know." I said, "Then if you can pass cosmetology board license, and you can pass citizenship also." I said, "Well, it's too difficult because they want me to write. The cosmetologist didn't ask me to write nothing. And so, it's all online, Well, you can read." I don't know how she got her cosmetology certification, but I don't want to dig deep into it but I know that she became nail tech, and that's how she earned her living. She was able to earn enough money and bought her own first home, and the house is it's pretty affordable. She said that was like a half an acre land and a 4-bedroom house for $80,000, which is like buy a middle class Mercedes. $80,000. Like, yeah, my rent's only $500. Anthony, you need to move over here. The house is so cheap over here. So, yes, what I'm gonna do over there? Oh, you can do nail with me. Oh, yeah, sounds good. So my little cousin, my second cousin, want me to apply re-entry permit for her. She want to go back to Cambodia because she got so adamant about not being able to pass a citizenship. I said, we'll do another time. Okay, just maybe 2 years from now with Trump administration. So it's a stay low profile girlfriend, just work and come home and nothing else. And do not want to trouble right now with your green card or re-entry permit because it's not a guarantee. Even with naturalization citizen, there's still no guarantee. So I counsel that. Do not leave America right now. Okay, stay a few more years until she's able to attain her citizenship. So she told me, okay, I'll wait. But I tell her maybe in a couple of years, we'll move to Cambodia together. We'll wait until Cambodia is in a better situation. You know, she said that she want to go and look at some land. She said that I'll buy land. She said, and you can build a house next to mine. I said, okay, that sounds good. Like a good proposal to me. Proposition. So I said, I'll take that offer. So she said, well, then you have to help me prepare for my citizenship. Once I get my citizenship, I'm gone. I said, go ahead, girl. I'm prepared. I got my citizenship. I have a passport. I'll be gone before you do. So we just had a great conversation. This girl is so resilient. She came as mail order bride and overcome the obstacle, though her language is not impressive, but she's become self-sufficient. She works as nail tech. She has 4 children, and she married this young man. Not all great, but he got squared. He got squared out because because she threatened she gonna leave him. So I think he does better now. And then they asked him, "Are you gonna take the kid with you, or you gonna take anybody with?" No, I said I'm going by myself. So, what? You're going to Cambodia by yourself. What you gonna do with the kid? I'm gonna leave them with their dad. Said, how are you gonna do that? Well, maybe they're better off without me. Sound crazy, so I didn't want to get on into it. I said that sound crazy. How are you gonna leave your kid with him and you be in Cambodia by yourself? That don't make a lot of sense. So call me back when you make more sense. So just a few weeks ago, she called me and we were having our floor done also. The men were working on the floor. She calling me and she was working on her floor too. She was putting tile on her shop. So she's now opening her own nail shop. Now, after a while, she was working um, with another Vietnamese, a Cambodian nail techs, and they share the capacity. I think now she's able to afford and have her own shop. So I said, well, then it sounds like you're not leaving America. Then if you're gonna open a nail shop, then sound like you are set and um and nailed in. So, yeah, I had thought about what you was telling me, Auntie. That next to my mom, you would be my second mom and the only person here in America for me. And whatever you suggest or counsel, I take your counsel. So I'm listening to you, and I'm not trying to be rational. I have a few more opportunity to prepare for my citizenship. So that's way to go. I'm happy for her, and I'm proud of her actually. I haven't visited her. I know I flew back and forth between East Coast, and she's just right in between there. I never make a trip, and every time I'm at East Coast, I give her excuses, and she give my excuses. Well, I have to pack my kid and drive 6-7 hours to go see you, Auntie. Why don't you fly over here? In fact, she just suggests that I should attend her grand opening. Maybe I'll take that off. Maybe I just drop by to see her during her grand opening to congratulate her, because she had made such a good progress. It's a successful story, for an immigrant that came in and in later years and that are part of my family. So I'm proud of her. Okay. So I'm done speaking today. My throat is sore right now and dry, and because I've been crying too, and like exhausted because I put so much energy into this conversation, but at least I was able to share it and not to offend anybody. It just the fact that these are the personal experience, and my thought and prayer with those victims, and with those spirits of those who didn't make it through, and that they will find peace and pass over and be at peace. And if they believe in resurrections and repenting, if they believe in reincarnation, and be. And that's all I have for you guys tonight. Hey, thank you for tuning in, you guys. Been great support. I appreciate you, CC. Thank you so much for yes, exactly. I appreciate you, CC. You always be so supportive and understanding. I appreciate you and your humanity. I appreciate you kindly. I'm glad to be able to share the story today, and I will make sure that I share the link to some of the story of those who survived the Ghost Mountain and the killing fields, so that way we can understand each other, where we standing as far as humanities and the human needs. So much love and respect. I think it's good morning for you, Mrs. A. Sleep well, love. Thank you for staying up late. Appreciate you. Thank you, TikTok. You've been instrumental. Your support means a great deal to me. Have a good morning, and yeah, good morning. It's a good morning. It is good morning. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate all of you.